The stars outside shimmered like frozen sparks against the black sea of space. On the edge of the Terran border, the station Aurora 9 floated in silence, a steel city circling a red dwarf sun. Inside its long corridors, laughter echoed from the dining hall. It was Ethan Cole's birthday, and for once the single father had promised himself a quiet evening with his little daughter Mia. He had planned everything: a small cake shipped from Earth, a candle that smelled like home, and a holographic message from his late wife playing in the background. For a man who had given most of his life to fixing ships and keeping the station running, tonight was supposed to be a reminder that he still had something worth smiling for. But fate, as always, had other plans. Just as he placed the cake on the table, the intercom crackled with a distress signal, a faint voice trembling through static. "Help! Anyone, please. Life support failing." Ethan frowned. The voice didn't sound human. The automated system marked it as unknown species, and the station security ignored it. Too many false alarms from pirates or smugglers these days. Still, something in that weak voice touched him. He looked at Mia, sitting with her small hands clapping near the cake. "Daddy, cake time," she said. Her innocent smile made him hesitate, but then the voice came again, softer, almost desperate. "Please, my child, help." Ethan sighed, his heart torn. He had seen too much pain in his years as an engineer. Soldiers bleeding on decks, lost miners crying for help no one answered. He couldn't sit still. He knelt beside Mia and smiled. "Sweetheart, Daddy needs to help someone, okay? I'll be right back, I promise." She pouted but nodded. "Promise me you'll come back before the candle goes out," she whispered. Ethan smiled, kissed her forehead and said, "I promise." Moments later, he was running through the Maigand. "Birthday," he said with a half smile, "and I thought I'd do something good." The alien woman looked confused, as if she couldn't understand such logic. She pressed her forehead against her child's, whispering something in her language. A prayer, maybe. Meanwhile, the station's surveillance cameras captured everything, broadcasting live to internal logs. A human engineer kneeling beside a dying alien mother, repairing her ship instead of celebrating his own birthday. Somewhere across the Terran communication grid, an automated relay leaked the footage into open space networks. The signal spread like wildfire, reaching ships, colonies, and even alien listening posts. Back in the docking bay, Ethan wrapped a thermal blanket around the alien woman and her child. "You'll be fine," he said gently. "You both just need rest." She looked at him, then at the small, candle-shaped badge on his chest. A gift from his daughter. She didn't know what a birthday was, but something in her heart told her this human had given up something precious for her. When Ethan finally stood, he looked through the viewport. The stars shimmered quietly. He sighed. "Guess I missed the cake," he whispered. Far above, in the endless dark, a dozen alien ships intercepted the leaked footage. Their captains watched in stunned silence, a single human helping the enemy with no reward. The words echoed in countless minds across the stars. Maybe humans are not what we thought. And somewhere, back in the small living quarters of Aurora 9, a candle flickered beside a lonely cake, still waiting for the man who promised to come back before it went out. Hours had passed since Ethan pulled the damaged pod into the docking bay. The air smelled faintly of oil and ozone, and the hum of the life support system filled the silence like a heartbeat. The alien mother lay on a med bed, her child sleeping beside her, his tiny chest rising slowly under the glow of medical lights. Ethan sat nearby, watching the monitors blink green, relief softening his tired eyes. She opened her eyes suddenly, her pupils wide and golden like twin suns trapped behind glass. Her voice trembled. "You saved us," she said. The translator converted her words, a soft echo of gratitude. Ethan smiled faintly. "That's what we humans do," he replied, adjusting the medical scanner. "We fix things. We help people, even when it's not easy." The alien mother studied him in silence, her gaze sharp and searching. Her skin was pale blue, covered in faint glowing lines that pulsed slowly like veins of light. She looked both fragile and regal. "My name is Rin Allah," she said after a pause. "And this," she motioned weakly toward the child, "is Kale, my son." Ethan nodded. I'm Ethan Cole, engineer, human, and apparently terrible at keeping birthday promises, he said with a soft chuckle. Rinala tilted her head, confused by his humor. Birthday? She repeated. Ethan smiled. A day when humans celebrate being alive, usually with food, music, and family. She looked down at her child, whispering, In my world, such days are rare. He noticed her expression change, fear flickering in her golden eyes. Who were you running from? He asked gently. Her breathing quickened, her claws gripping the edge of the bed. They will come, she whispered. They always come. Ethan leaned closer. Who? Her voice dropped to a trembling whisper. The Syndra Dominion, she said. They hunt me because I carry their future. Ethan frowned, confused. Their future? She nodded, her eyes glistening. Kyle is not just my son. He is the last living heir of the Syndra royal line. Ethan froze, his heart skipping. Royalty? He muttered. You mean your people? You're a queen? She shook her head. Not anymore. Our empire was destroyed, and your kind fought us decades ago, she said, her voice bitter and tired. They slaughtered my kin, and now what remains of the Syndra want the child dead to erase the last trace of our bloodline. Ethan looked at the small boy sleeping peacefully. He couldn't imagine what kind of galaxy would hunt a child. So, you were escaping, he said softly. Yes, she whispered. We fled across systems. Every port turned us away. They feared humans. They feared your soldiers. Ethan rubbed his neck. Yeah, I can't blame them, he said. Humans aren't exactly known for making friends in space. She looked up sharply. And yet, here you are, she said. Helping the enemy, risking your life for strangers. He shrugged. Maybe the galaxy's wrong about us, he said. Maybe we're not monsters, just people trying to do the right thing. For a long moment, Rinala said nothing. Her eyes softened, and she whispered, Your kind burned our worlds, yet you speak like a priest of mercy. Ethan smiled sadly. War changes everyone. But it doesn't define everyone. The lights above flickered suddenly, alarms buzzing across the docking bay. Warning. Incoming transmission. The AI's voice echoed through the chamber. Ethan tapped the console and a hologram burst to life. A Syndra battleship appeared on the edge of the system, broadcasting an encrypted signal. Rinala's face went pale. They found us, she said in horror. They are coming. Ethan looked at her. How? He asked. Your pod's beacon, she whispered. It transmits automatically to any Syndra vessel nearby. I was too weak to disable it. Ethan's mind raced. The station wasn't equipped for battle, and security would never risk a diplomatic incident by fighting the Syndra. He looked at Rinala, her body trembling as she hugged her son. Please, she begged, hide us. They will kill him. Ethan stared at her for a moment, then nodded. Follow me, he said. We'll find a way. He guided her through the maintenance tunnels beneath the station, narrow metal paths filled with steam and humming pipes. This way, he whispered. Few people come here. Rinala struggled to keep up, her steps weak, her son clutching her neck. Ethan carried a small lamp ahead, lighting the darkness with a soft golden glow. When they reached a hidden cargo hold, Ethan opened a compartment and revealed a small shuttle, half repaired and unregistered. Old rescue craft, he said. Doesn't have a transponder, they won't detect it easily. Rinala looked at him, her voice trembling. You risk everything for us, she said. If they find out, your own people will punish you. Ethan met her gaze, his expression calm. I've been punished enough by life already, he said. And if I don't help, I won't be human anymore. Rinala stared at him for a long time, her eyes reflecting both sorrow and wonder. Your heart, it doesn't match the stories we were told, she whispered. Ethan smiled faintly. Good. Maybe it's time someone rewrote those stories. Outside, the scanners beeped. The Syndra warship had entered orbit, their signal echoing through the void. All units, prepare to board the Terran station. Ethan closed the shuttle door and powered up the engine manually. Stay quiet, keep the lights low, he said. Rinala held her child close, whispering, "Thank you, human." Ethan looked at her one last time, the glow of the console painting his face in gold and shadow. "No," he said softly. "Don't thank me yet. We're just getting started." As the shuttle detached and drifted silently into the void, Ethan stayed behind in the shadows, his eyes fixed on the approaching Syndra ship. The galaxy would soon learn that kindness, once unleashed, was more powerful than fear, and humanity's legend was only beginning to rise among the stars. The red warning lights pulsed across Aurora 9, filling the hallways with a dull crimson glow. Every console flickered, every alarm screamed the same. Message, unidentified vessel approaching, possible Syndra warship. Engineers shouted across comms, and guards rushed to defense posts, unaware that one of their own was hiding the very fugitives the Syndra wanted. Ethan stood in the shadows of the cargo bay, sweat glistening on his face. His hands moved fast across the control board of the old rescue shuttle. He bypassed the main network and rerouted the signal through maintenance frequency so no one could trace its departure. The small ship trembled as it came alive. Rinala clutched her child in the rear seat, whispering prayers in her native tongue. Through the cracked viewport, the stars looked calm, but Ethan knew death was coming. "You're clear for launch," he said quietly. "Stay low. Avoid the main lanes. The Syndra sensors can't detect civilian craft that close to the debris field." Rinala looked at him, fear and gratitude blending in her golden eyes. "What about you?" she asked. "They will know. They will punish you." Ethan smirked slightly. "Let them try," he said, his voice rough but calm. "I'll jam their scanners and buy you some time." The shuttle's engines roared to life, light spilling across the bay. Ethan slammed his hand on the release lever, and the doors opened to the dark void. The small ship drifted out, silent like a whisper, disappearing into the sea of stars. At that same moment, the Syndra warship Korath's blade appeared in orbit, its metallic wings stretching wide like a predator's claws. Its captain, a tall reptilian figure named Varric, leaned forward from his throne. "Lock on to the Terran station," he hissed. "Our prey is hiding there." On Aurora 9, the station commander received the signal. "Unregistered Syndra vessel, state your purpose," she demanded. But the alien voice that replied sent chills down her spine. "We are here for one Syndra female and her spawn. Deliver them, or your station will burn." The commander looked around, confused. "There are no Syndra on board," she replied. But in the dark maintenance bay, Ethan knew. They were searching for Rinala. He activated the jamming field, flooding the station's sensors with false data. The Syndra ship's scanners showed hundreds of ghost signals, fake life signs scattered across decks. Varric growled, slamming his clawed hand on the console. "Human tricks," he snarled. "Destroy their shields. Burn the lies from their metal." Beams of blue plasma lit the darkness, smashing against the station's armor. The hull shook violently, alarms shrieked, workers screamed as sparks rained from the ceilings. Ethan held the manual controls, sweat pouring down his neck. "Come on, hold together," he muttered. The jammer burned red, overloaded, but he didn't stop. In the distance, the small shuttle carrying Rinala shivered as shockwaves rippled through the void. She looked back through the rear monitor, seeing explosions dance across Aurora 9. "He stayed behind," she whispered, her voice breaking. "The human stayed." Kyle, her child, stirred in his sleep, murmuring softly, "The human. Brave." Back on the station, flames burst through the maintenance deck. The power grid failed, plunging sections into darkness. Ethan stumbled but refused to run. He dragged himself to the emergency panel, punching in an override code. "AI, open auxiliary bay doors," he said through gritted teeth. "Release all unmanned drones." Hundreds of drones floated out into space, each carrying a signal relay. The Syndra sensors went wild, showing thousands of false human ships around the station. "Impossible!" Varric shouted. "They multiply their ships?" The crew panicked, firing in every direction, wasting precious energy. Their plasma shots hit nothing but empty space. The distraction worked. Rinala's shuttle slipped behind a drifting asteroid belt, vanishing from sight. Inside the burning bay, Ethan coughed, smoke filling his lungs. He looked at the holographic map. Rinala's ship had cleared the system, safe for now. He smiled weakly, his body trembling. "Happy birthday, Ethan," he whispered to himself. "You did something good after all." A sudden explosion ripped through the deck, throwing him across the floor. The ceiling collapsed, flames licking the edges of his uniform. The AI's voice echoed faintly. "Hull breach imminent. Evacuation required." Ethan tried to stand, but his leg was trapped under twisted metal. He pressed the comm button on his wrist. "Station command, this is Cole. Evacuate the lower decks, now." The reply came broken and faint. "Cole, where are you? The Syndra are retreating. Repeat. They're pulling back." He laughed bitterly, smoke stinging his throat. "Good," he muttered. Then it was worth it. Outside, the Syndra warship turned, its sensors detecting nothing but empty debris. "Target lost," the operator said. "No life signs remaining," Varric snarled. "Then let this be their grave." He fired one last torpedo toward the crippled station before vanishing into warp. The explosion was massive, a sphere of blue fire blooming in the black sky. Rinala's ship caught the faint flash from afar. Her heart clenched as tears streamed down her face. "He is gone," she whispered. "The human who saved us." Silence filled the shuttle. Kale woke and looked up at her. "Mama, will he come back?" She hugged him tightly, her voice trembling. "No, my son. But remember his name. Ethan Cole, the human who gave up his birthday for us." Outside, the stars shimmered quietly, unaware that a legend had just been born. A story of one man's kindness would travel faster than any light, reaching ears across systems, igniting questions, and changing how the galaxy saw humanity forever. The explosion of Aurora 9 rippled through the void like a silent scream. Fragments of steel drifted across the stars, glowing softly in the cold dark. The station that once shimmered with life was now only a cloud of dust and debris. For most, it would have been forgotten. Another loss in the endless expanse of war, but not this time, because somewhere in that wreckage, the story of one human was being told. A single man who gave up his birthday, his safety, and his future for a mother and child not of his kind. Across the Syndra Dominion, intercepted footage of Ethan's final moments spread like wildfire. Soldiers, scientists, and rulers alike stared at the recording. The human kneeling beside an alien mother, repairing her ship while alarms blared in the background. The transmission showed him smiling, calm, gentle, even as chaos closed in. "What kind of creature risks himself for the enemy?" one Syndra officer whispered. His superior growled, "No creature. That's a Terran." But even he could not hide the unease in his voice. On Rinala's homeworld, the footage reached the underground networks. Rebels who had long hated humanity watched in silence. The leader, a scarred warrior, replayed Ethan's voice again and again. "Because you asked for help," he said, over and over. "Because you asked for help." Those words became a chant, spreading through cities and colonies. For centuries, the galaxy had painted humans as destroyers, fierce and unyielding. But now, one small act had created a crack in that wall of hatred. Through that crack, light began to shine. Rinala's ship finally landed on the edge of a forgotten moon, hidden beneath the shadow of a dying star. The place was cold and silent, but it was safe. She held Kale close, her tears glowing faintly under the soft light of their ship's console. "He is gone, my son," she whispered. "The stars took him, but they will remember his name." The boy looked up with wide eyes. "The human helped us," he said softly. Rinala smiled sadly. "Yes, Ethan Cole helped us. Even when he had nothing to gain, even when everyone else would have turned away." She didn't know that even as she spoke, her words were being recorded by the ship's Archie. The log, transmitted into the Galactic network through hidden relays. Her message would travel far beyond that dying moon. It
would reach space stations, colonies, and even alien royal courts that had never heard of kindness before. Weeks passed, the name Ethan Cole became a symbol whispered in the halls of power. Human diplomats were stunned when Syndra's citizens began sending messages to Earth. "We saw your human," one read. "He was not like the stories we were told," another wrote. "Your people have hearts of fire, may his light guide the stars." The Terran Council, seated on Earth's orbital citadel, received the reports with disbelief. "One engineer did all this?" the Admiral asked, shaking his head. "How?" But deep down, even he smiled, pride stirring within him. Humanity had always fought to survive, but never had it changed the galaxy with something as small as compassion. On the outer colonies, murals began to appear, painted by alien hands. They showed a human man kneeling beside a mother and child, his hands reaching out, his face calm and kind. Below each image, the same words were written in hundreds of languages. "Because you asked for help, Rinala, hidden among stars, continued to teach her son about the man who saved them. Never forget, Kale," she would whisper each night. "He was not a warrior, not a king, not a god. He was human, and that was enough." As time moved on, the story of Ethan Cole reached the Galactic Council, a place where empires debated and fought with words sharper than blades. Representatives from 100 races gathered to discuss trade, war, and power, but this time, they spoke of something else. The human engineer, one alien senator began. "His actions demand recognition," another added. "He gave his life to save our kind. We cannot ignore such courage." A third slammed his hand on the table. "He broke no laws, he followed his heart, and that heart has done more for peace than any treaty we ever signed." For the first time in 1,000 years, the council chamber was silent. Outside, the stars shimmered brighter that day. As if the universe itself paused to listen, a small beacon was launched into orbit around the ruins of Aurora 9, carrying a single message carved in golden script. "Here fell Ethan Cole, the human who gave up his birthday to remind the galaxy what kindness means." Rinala received the transmission days later. She stood under a silver sky, holding Kale's small hand. Her heart ached, but her voice was steady. "He is not gone," she whispered. "He became the echo the stars will never forget." That night, as Kale slept, Rinala looked up at the endless dark and smiled through her tears. Somewhere, she believed, Ethan's soul drifted among the constellations, watching, still fixing what was broken, still helping where he could. The galaxy no longer saw humanity as monsters. They saw them as something far more dangerous to fear. They saw them as beings capable of love, and in a universe ruled by fear, love was the one thing that could change everything. Weeks passed since the explosion that consumed Aurora 9. The galaxy moved on, as it always did. Wars were fought, treaties were signed, and new stars rose while old ones faded. But across thousands of worlds, one name refused to disappear: Ethan Cole, the human who gave up everything for a stranger. Rinala still carried his memory like a heartbeat inside her. Each night she would tell Kale stories about him, stories that grew into legends. "He fixed broken things," she whispered, "but most of all, he fixed what was broken in people." Kale would close his eyes and imagine the human smiling in the dark, a gentle light against endless space. Then, one quiet morning, everything changed. Deep in an asteroid field near the ruins of Aurora 9, a Terran salvage crew picked up a weak emergency signal. The code was old, almost unreadable. "Cowl. DB debris," one pilot muttered, but the technician frowned. "No, this signal has a heartbeat." The crew exchanged glances, activating thrusters and following the faint pulse of light.
Between two massive chunks of drifting metal, they found it. A small escape pod half buried in dust, its hull scorched. The insignia on the side was faded but still visible. Aurora 9. Engineering Core inside. A man sat slumped against the console, his face pale but alive, his hand gripping a flickering datapad. The screen displayed a single message written in shaky letters: "Promise kept." The crew gasped. "By the stars, it's him," one whispered. "It's Ethan Cole." They rushed him to the med bay of the rescue vessel Arcadia. The doctors worked for hours, replacing air tubes, repairing tissue damage, and stabilizing his weak heartbeat. "He shouldn't be alive," one nurse said. "Not after 3 weeks in deep vacuum." But the doctor only shook his head. "He's human, remember? They never die easy." When Ethan opened his eyes, the world was blurry. The ceiling above him was bright, white, and unfamiliar. "Where am I?" he whispered. The nurse smiled. "You're safe, sir. You're among friends." Ethan tried to sit up, but pain shot through his chest. "Rinella, the child," he gasped. The nurse blinked. "The Syndra mother? She's alive. They say she's spreading your story across half the galaxy." He lay back, eyes glistening, a weak smile forming. "Good," he whispered. "Then it wasn't for nothing." News of his survival spread faster than light. Within hours, messages poured in from colonies, outposts, and even alien worlds. The Syndra Council, once humanity's enemy, sent a fleet of medships carrying gifts and healers. "For the human who saved our future," their message read. When Rinella heard the news, she refused to believe it at first. "No, he can't be alive," she whispered. But then the broadcast came. Ethan's face appeared on the hollow screens, tired, scarred, but smiling. "I guess I missed the cake," he said softly. And the galaxy that once feared humans fell silent. Rinella and Kale traveled across light years to meet him. The reunion happened on the orbital station Erebus Prime, where human and alien flags now hung side by side. The docking bay was filled with both species, soldiers, civilians, and children, all waiting to see the man who had changed history. When Rinella stepped off her ship, her eyes met his across the platform. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then she ran forward and embraced him. "You kept your promise," she whispered, her voice breaking. Ethan chuckled weakly. "I told my daughter I'd come back before the candle went out." Kale looked up at him, his small, glowing eyes full of wonder. "You are the human from the stories," he said shyly. Ethan knelt, smiling. "And you are the reason I made it this far." The Galactic press recorded every second, broadcasting it across 1,000 systems. The image of a human man embracing an alien queen became the most watched moment in galactic history. Even hardened soldiers wept, even cynical politicians stood in silence. Later, when Ethan was brought before the Terran Council, he was offered medals, honors, and command titles, but he refused them all. "I don't need medals," he said quietly. "I just want peace to mean something real this time." His voice echoed through the chamber. "Kindness is not weakness, it's strength we forgot we had." The alien envoys bowed, something no one had ever seen before. "Your compassion," one said, "has rewritten the stories we told our children." Ethan smiled. "Then tell them the truth. Tell them we're not what they feared. Tell them we're human." As the meeting ended, a soft hum filled the chamber. The council had decided to create a new division, the Human Alliance of Compassion, dedicated to helping all species in need. Its emblem was simple, a candle shining among the stars. That night, Ethan sat by the viewport of his quarters, watching the galaxies swirl like rivers of fire. He held the small badge from his daughter, still scorched from the explosion. The flame engraved on it glowed faintly under the starlight. He whispered to himself, "Maybe kindness really can travel faster than light." Outside, the stars flickered, not in chaos, but in quiet unity, as if the universe itself acknowledged his truth. And somewhere far away, on a forgotten moon, the wind carried his name. Ethan Cole, the man who proved that even in the coldest galaxy, the warmth of one heart could still light the way. The great hall of the Galactic Council shimmered under a ceiling made of starlight glass. The walls were alive with moving constellations, each representing a world that once feared the name human. Now they waited in silence, united by the story of one man who had defied everything they believed. Ethan Cole stood at the center of that vast chamber, dressed not in uniform, but in a simple engineer's jacket, worn and patched from years of work. His hands were calloused, his eyes tired, yet his presence carried a quiet power that no admiral or emperor could match. Around him, thousands of alien delegates whispered his name. "The human," one voice murmured. "The one who saved the Syndra heir. The one who chose compassion over war," another replied. The council chair, a A tall, crystalline being whose body refracted light like a living prism, raised a hand. Silence in the chamber, its voice echoed through the air. We summon Ethan Cole of Terra to bear witness to the events that have shaken the stars. Ethan stepped forward, his boots echoing softly. He looked up at the endless tiers of alien faces, scales, feathers, fur, and metal, all watching him, not with hatred this time, but with curiosity, with wonder. He took a breath and began, his voice steady. "I'm not a soldier. I'm not a hero. I'm an engineer," he said. "My job was to fix broken things, and that's all I did. I fixed something that was broken. Not a ship, not a machine, but trust." A murmur rippled through the crowd. His words were simple, but they carried weight. "I didn't save her because she was an alien mother. I saved her because she needed help," he continued. "When I looked at her, I didn't see an enemy. I saw fear. I saw a mother trying to protect her child, and I saw myself, a father, trying to do the same." Several delegates bowed their heads, remembering the footage, remembering the small human kneeling beside a trembling alien. "I've heard the stories you tell about us," Ethan said. "Humans, the destroyers, the warmongers, the death-worlders. Maybe that's true sometimes, but it's not all we are. We're also the ones who build bridges, who share food, who help even when no one's watching." Rinala sat among the Sindra delegation, her eyes shimmering with pride. Kale sat beside her, small and curious, staring at the man he called his second father. Ethan looked directly at the council chair. "You fear what humanity might do," he said softly. "But maybe you should also see what humanity can be." The hall fell silent, 1,000 eyes fixed on him, waiting. Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, burnt badge, the one his daughter had made for his birthday. The candle emblem gleamed faintly. "This is what started it all," he said. "A promise to be home before the candle went out. I broke that promise, but maybe in doing so I lit another flame." He placed the badge on the podium. If one human's kindness can reach across galaxies, imagine what billions could do if they tried. The council chamber remained silent for several seconds, and then the impossible happened. The first applause in Galactic Council history. It began with a soft clap from the Sindra seats, then spread through the hall like thunder. Different species, different worlds, one voice, united not by fear but by hope. Even the council chai, or bowed slightly, its crystal form shimmering with color. "Ethan Cole of Terra," it said. "Your words are now part of the galactic record. Your species is hereby recognized not as a threat, but as a contributor to peace." Ethan nodded humbly. "We're not perfect," he said, "but we'll try." After the session, as the delegates filed out, many approached him, some to thank him, others simply to touch his hand, a symbol of connection, of understanding. Outside the chamber, Rinala waited for him. She smiled softly. "You spoke like a leader," she said. Ethan shook his head. "No, I spoke like a father," he replied. "And that's enough." Kale ran up and hugged him tightly. "Does this mean no more war?" he asked. Ethan looked down at him and smiled sadly. "It means fewer people will want one." The next day, the Galactic Council announced a new tradition, the Day of the Human Heart, celebrated across every system that once feared humanity. It was not a holiday of war or victory, but of compassion, a day to remember that even in the darkest void, one act of kindness can outshine 1,000 suns. Holographic statues of Ethan were placed on stations and planets, not in poses of glory, but as a simple man kneeling beside a mother and her child, fixing what was broken. That night, Ethan stood on a balcony overlooking the city of glass and light that surrounded the council. The stars glimmered above him, countless and calm. He whispered to himself, "We finally made them see." And somewhere far away, on Earth, his daughter looked up at the same stars, her small voice carrying through the night, "Happy birthday, Dad." The wind carried that whisper through the void, reaching the man who had changed everything, reminding him that no matter how far humanity traveled, kindness would always be its truest light. A year had passed since the council declared the Day of the Human Heart. The galaxies had grown quieter, Trade routes were safer, and once hostile fleets now sent aid convoys instead of warships. Across every colony, children of different worlds played together under banners that carried a single symbol, a candle shining in the dark. On this day, in the floating city of Erebus Prime, lights filled the sky like rivers of gold. It was no ordinary celebration. It was Ethan Cole's birthday, the first one he would finally share with the galaxy he helped to heal. He stood on the balcony of the Unity Hall, the glass reflecting starlight across his face. Around him were humans, Syndra, and dozens of other species, all gathered not to honor a hero, but to thank a man who reminded them what it meant to care. Rinala approached with Kael at her side, both dressed in simple robes that shimmered faintly with energy threads. "The crowd waits for you," she said softly. Ethan smiled. "I waited long enough for a quiet birthday," he replied. "Guess the universe had other plans." Kael tugged at his hand. "I brought something for you," he said shyly. From behind his back, he pulled out a small cake, unevenly frosted, but glowing gently from a single flame. "I wanted to make it myself," he said proudly. Ethan's breath caught, his throat tightening. "You even remembered the candle?" he whispered. Rinala smiled. He insisted it had to be just one. He said that's all you needed to light the whole galaxy. As Kyle held up the cake, cameras across the plaza zoomed in, transmitting the image to 1,000 worlds. The crowd went silent, waiting. Ethan knelt down, his eyes misty. "Thank you, Kale," he said softly. "You've given me more than I ever lost." He took a deep breath and blew out the candle. The tiny flame flickered, then vanished. But in its place, the sky above erupted with light. Hundreds of drones released sparks that formed constellations, each shaped into the symbol of a heart. The galaxies were celebrating too. People cheered, Syndra children waved Terran flags, and humans sang the words of unity in alien tongues. No one cared who was from where, because for the first time in living memory, everyone belonged to the same story. A broadcast echoed across the stars. "This day marks the birth of more than a man. It marks the rebirth of hope." Ethan watched the display quietly. "You see this, Mia?" he whispered to himself, thinking of his daughter on Earth. "Your dad finally made it home. Maybe not the way he planned, but home all the same." Rinala heard him and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Your flame lit all of us," she said, "even after the darkness tried to take you." Ethan smiled. "That's the thing about fire," he said. "It spreads when you share it." Later that night, as the music faded and the stars shimmered above the city, Ethan walked through the celebration square, passing stalls of alien food and laughter. Every few steps, someone stopped to thank him. A soldier, a child, a merchant, a healer, each one said the same thing. "You reminded us to feel." He finally sat down on a bench overlooking the horizon, Kyle asleep beside him. The faint hum of starships drifted in the distance. "I thought my life ended on Aurora 9, Ethan murmured. "But maybe it really began there." He reached into his jacket and pulled out the old burnt badge, the candle engraving still faintly visible. He placed it on the bench and whispered, "You kept your promise, little light." Above him, the stars began to align, slowly forming a glowing spiral visible from every inhabited world. Astronomers called it the Cole Formation, but the people simply called it the birthday light, a reminder that one act of kindness could change the shape of the universe itself. As the galaxy watched the skies, a final transmission played across every channel, Ethan's voice, recorded by the Council, calm and eternal. "If you ever wonder what it means to be human, look for someone who helps when no one else will. That's where you'll find us." And somewhere deep in space, where the light of Aurora 9's wreckage still shone, immered faintly, the candle emblem glowed one last time before fading into the stars. The galaxy would never forget the human who gave up his birthday dinner, because his kindness had become the brightest celebration of all, the birthday that changed the stars.